It's 7 o'clock.
The sun shines, the wind blows. My mind, body, and soul.
Free as the mind, free as the body, and free as the soul. Free as a monad that don't got reason to hold negative energy. Freedom of thought, freedom to roam. Free of my own past, karmic debt, paid it in full. Free of your heart, free of your love, I'm free from your fold. Free as a bird out the cage, I've been waiting to go. Free of my time, free of your trouble, I'm free on the road. Free as the rhythm and soul, baby I'm free. Baby I'm free. Free.
Yeah, the sun shines, the wind blows. My mind, body, and soul.
Free of the stress, freedom to soar towards you I abhor. Freedom to live life just like what I am for. Free of your grip, sever my hands, be free from the floor. Free to explore all the good things that are in store. Free of the hype, fuck all that hype, I doubted it more. Freedom of peace, freedom of life, the freedom of shore. Freedom to do what is right every time that I'm sure. Free to release all the plight when I walk out the door. I'm free of laws, free of the traps, my freedom secure. Freedom of space, free of the night when niggas is scorn. Free of my fears, bring me the tears, I wish I had more. Cause all this floor was beautiful, and baby I'm free. Free.
Wake up, I see the sunshine.